President Trump bringing the fight against communism to America's 250th birthday celebrations. 47 railing against the rise of socialism in the Democratic Party while declaring that it will never take hold in the United States.
We don't want communists in our country.
Communism is a loser, and it always will be. The communist system is the opposite of the American system, and the communist system has never worked. Our warriors did not fight communism on battlefields across the world, only to have that menace rear its ugly head right back here in America. We're not going to let it happen.
But Democrats are at a crossroads as socialism is gaining steam in the party. And potential 2028 hopeful California Governor Gavin Newsom, he says that Democrats can't afford to turn away support even from self-described socialists.
I'm for addition, not subtraction. The Democratic Party needs to be in the addition business if we're going to get back into the majority. I'm not offended by this notion of a big tent. And I think it's important, though, that big tent is a big tent. Because there's folks, on this side that don't want folks on that. I think we'd be better off to look at the things that bind us together, the things we have in common.
But not all Democrat leaders are cowering to the party's progressive wing. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is making it clear that he's not on the socialist bandwagon and even distanced himself from New York's rising star, Daria-Liza Chevalier.
Her district voted for her, but I have profound differences from that particular candidate, based on the citations that you read there. And she's not someone, who seemingly I would agree with on many things or that we share similar values.
All right, are we ready for a great week, America? We are. Jessica, one of the things that Gavin Newsom said is we're for addition, not subtraction. But in the last several primaries where the socialists have moved forward, I think it has been narrowing because the key piece that has separated the new ones from the old ones, it's not Medicare for all. It's not even abolish ICE. It's that we don't want to support Israel, and it's like an anti-Semitic thing. So it's like actually a narrowing of the party. I don't see where Gavin Newsom thinks that it's growing it.
I think that what he's saying, if these new Democratic socialists play ball come midterms, which I'm not sure that they will necessarily, because we have seen people either support the nominee like Abdullah Syed did in 2024. He said, Kamala Harris isn't perfect, but this is our best chance at, defeating the Republicans and actually getting some control here. There are others that have been less committal, and you can see a world in which they're not going to be supporting Hakeem Jeffries for speaker, for instance, or we get around to 2028 and they use that power flex, right, by saying, well, we're not going to support this one, we would only support this one.
And vote as a block.
Exactly. Or try to garner as much of a block as they can. The issue right now is that that block is garnering a lot of media coverage, but it's still not that many in technical terms, the ones winning these elections. And when all the primaries are said and done, we'll see how many of them are actually winning in districts that are competitive. Right now, they're winning in D plus 50 seats, right? So they're turning something that was blue a little bit bluer. And I think that Gavin Newsom is trying to be careful about it. You don't want to alienate especially someone with a huge social media platform that's going to be coming after you. But I am curious to see, and the story is unfolding, but Politico has reported that there is a credible allegation of sexual assault against Graham Plattner. He posted a video, which sure sounds like he's dropping out. He says the allegations are false, but I want to make sure that we beat Susan Collins. Prediction markets, everyone thinks that he's headed out the door. We would have another week for that to happen and then 2 weeks to pick a new nominee. And I'm curious to see if that turns into a conversation around the vetting that has happened on the far left here. That if, Chuck Schumer saying, I want to get anyone, Jared Golden won't do it, I'll take Janet Mills then, was right, and that this guy is too flawed of a candidate to be running them. And if any of that blows back on the people who said, no, stick with him no matter what, tattoos, lighter allegations of sexual or domestic violence, et cetera. So that is going to be, I think, the new frontier that's brewing.
Kennedy, Governor Shapiro, he is basically saying, let's push back against this. And he would have reason to. His house was almost burned down with his family inside it for this kind of radicalism. Yes, so his small tent was almost burned to the ground by the people who have called for the destruction of, politicians like Josh Shapiro, who I'm guessing happens to be a Zionist. And, he's finally pushing back against this insane worldview where you have a group of people whose entire political movement is based on envy and a zero-sum proposition that a bunch of other people have stuff that would be yours if we had a better system of distribution. And that's what they were promising. And, that's the part of socialism that dovetails with communism, because anywhere they try the redistribution gambit, it does not work. It fails miserably. It fails by force, and it fails by footsteps. They try it in North Korea, people starve to death. They try it in France, billionaires leave. That is the tax base. That is the thing you absolutely need in order to hold up the laundry list of stuff. It is untenable. It is impractical. And Josh Shapiro appears to be one of the more practical, rational Democrats. So what he's betting on is perhaps he doesn't have to compromise his political integrity to stand up for what he knows what is right. And, and maybe that will benefit him as more independents move into that big tent. Those are the people that Gavin Newsom should be going after. It's not the progressives. They hate all of them. Like Hakeem Jeffries, I cannot believe the idiocy of someone who is on the precipice of losing his job. And he will do that in short order if enough of these socialists are voted into Congress. That will happen, and they will do that gleefully. So, I hope there are more people like Josh Shapiro, truth tellers, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, because this country desperately needs that. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries was just like, I'll blow it off. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. That's another lane to take. Tom, when you talk about communism and socialism and the words, I almost feel like the communism piece in some ways is landing well, but not necessarily in others. And partly, I think it's generational.
It is generational. That's why it was interesting. If you look at the Trump speech, he uses the communism thing a lot, but he goes on several levels. So he says, the commies are coming. We beat them. We went to war against the commies, and we would do it again, but we don't have to. And then he would say, never worked, never will. See, that's the message that young people need to hear. That's kind of the Charlie Kirk type of message. He used to go all around, and people would say, well, what about communism? It's never been tried. And he says, it has never worked on a big scale. It's never worked on a small scale. And he would prove it out that way. Right. I thought President Trump, it's great the way he, when he gives the speech, you can see the speech, and then you see the bold face. Like during the speech, he kept saying the lightning. He said it like China. He says, and we beat the lightning, And then he has his aside. So he said his bit about communism, and then he said, it never worked, it never will. And then he said, communism's for losers. We don't want it,
Yes.
So it's like working on many different levels. Obviously, Gavin Newsom, ridiculous with his big tent. They're in the tent, Gavin. They're in the tent. They're coming for you. They lit the tent on fire. Everyone is choking, and you're about to, die of asphyxiation. You got to order them out of the tent, not make room for them in the tent, because they don't want you in their tent.
He loves tents. Look at all the homeless people in California. He adores tents.
He wants a nice dome tent. But I don't even think Shapiro was strong enough on this. I mean, he wimped out his last statement. He said, the voters voted for her to represent them. Mm-hmm. I think he's got to come out harder and say, you're out. We don't want you in our party.
Like, what happens, Joey, if they don't fight? If you're not fighting back against it and you're accepting it?
You're talking about Democrats fighting back against. Well, I just want to propose to you, Jessica, I understand a couple things here. One, it's not intellectually dishonest to jump to communism when criticizing this, because in their own words, Mamdani says, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just statewide housing guarantee, is preferable to what is going on now. Daria Lisa Chevalier. Sorry, I'm trying to say her name correctly.
We'll just call her DAC.
She had dozens, almost hundreds of posts either praising communism, espousing communism, and talking about the abolition of private property. The key difference between socialism and communism is that socialism is the path to communism, in that socialism takes on industry, production, leave some things to private ownership, and communism is when you get all the way there. So it's not intellectually dishonest to say, hey, these Democrat socialists are espousing communist views. They're just using a different headline. But the reason why that is so important, you even have Jayapal, I think it was this week, praising Cuba's, their education system and their healthcare system. Yeah. That is a communist country, by the way, just so everyone understands we're on the same page here. But the reason why this is so important is because there is an absolute disenfranchisement among especially young Democrats. They do not believe in the establishment that they have. If you want to know how powerful a handful of folks in Congress can be, ask Kevin McCarthy. It doesn't take much, especially the way things are broken down right now. It takes a handful. And you're talking about 3 here in New York City, not counting the rest of the squad, or if, I don't know, Cori Bush finds her way back in over in Missouri. And so, you know, this isn't a small group of people. This is the mayor of New York City. That is a big deal. 3 more members of Congress, others around the country. There's someone running for governor of, I believe it's Wisconsin right now, and so she's using this idea of data centers to try to pull away some of the disenfranchised Trump voters. So there is an appeal there among people who feel like either the capitalist system or the current government has left them behind. And if they can manipulate a thread that brings those together, it is something to be of concern. And the Democrats have a chance to stop it long before Republicans do, because it's showing its ugly head in the Democrat Party. But at the end of the day, power is what they want. So if that's their path to power, they'll step aside and take on that moniker, I guess, as well.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.